Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This is the Edge of Liberty podcast.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Majority men, good evening in the chat room. I also saw the fans over in the chat room. Thank you guys for being here. It is March the 4th, 2026. Got a lot to talk about tonight, a full hour. Not going to spend the whole time in Iran. I am going to lead off with Iran and hit all the big stuff that's been going on. But got other stuff to talk about. California is just being as Californian as humanly possible. So we're going to talk about California. Going to hit a couple other things, Save Act, whatnot, near the end. So stick around, lock in. Hopefully you have a nice cocktail. If it were me, I'd have a nice cocktail, like a Boulevardier or just straight bourbon even. Been known to do that plenty of times. To start off, first of all, maybe you can't see it. Hey, Canadian Heavy Hall's in the chat. Maybe you can't see it, but this made me laugh. It's all the Ayatollahs who've died. Khomeini, the recent one. The other guy that was Vari or whatever his name was, it lasted about 8 hours. And then that's his son's grave off to the right. So I was just prepping everything for them, getting it ready. O2AMT in the chat as a moderator. Sir, thank you so much. Please respect our moderators. They are fantastic and they help us out greatly. So let's get right down into it. So the opening strikes that happened on the February 28th, a lot's happened since then. There is a humongous vacuum, and I talked about this a little bit on Monday night. What a tremendous vacuum there is right now in Iran and the leadership. And as I wrote about, and I talked about Monday, the last guy, Avari or whatever his name was, lasted about 8 hours before he was blown up. And then the so-called Assembly of Experts, which, I mean, look, you want to talk about like the most basic name of like, it was almost like when they were making it up, and they did. I mean, that's what their whole existence is as far as the Iranian supreme leadership goes. It was almost like they're like, oh, we need people to know this is a serious panel, where almost like the Catholics are doing with the Pope, that we take our time and we need a really cool name. How about the Assembly of Experts? Because it's a group of experts that get together, and a group of nerds was already taken, apparently. So they went with the most lame name possible. Sorry, and this probably has nothing to do with Iran. It absolutely doesn't. But if I was starting a country that I just overtook in a bloody coup against the sitting government, and I had to like go ahead and make up some sort of cool name for the group of people that decides the next leader, because there's no elections. I mean, there's the president, but you know, the president's about as useful as like your school secretary in Iran. Like, occasionally can do some things, but really holds no clout. That's what the president of Iran does. So it's the Ayatollah and the mullahs and all that stuff, but the Ayatollah is the supreme leader. That's why they call him that. But if you were starting your own country, don't you think you could have come up with something better than assembly of experts? And throw some ideas in the chat as to what you would call it if you were starting your own country and you needed a group of people who pick the next supreme leader. Because, like, I don't know, like, group of badasses, leader deciders, some sort of, you could get some sort of cool name going. I don't necessarily have one, but I definitely know assembly of experts is the worst fucking name you could have picked for it. Sorry, I needed to vent that out because it's been bothering me since it's been coming up, that it's just absolutely zero imagination whatsoever. None whatsoever. It'd be I'd be the Grant Snow Mexican, Canada Heavy Hall saying, working leaders that don't lie. Oh, well, there you go. The Swinging Dicks, like, you could go like rock band style name with that too, right? Swinging Dicks, heavy metal pickers, like something you could choose. Boyd McPhail says, Boyd McPhail in the chat room says, by the time it's over, I guess that Omar the street sweeper will have to wave the white flag as the only government employee. Boyd, I don't know if you read my article on SHR Media that I did Tuesday, Monday, I forget which one it was, but in the image that I used for the article that I had created, it showed all the assembly of experts kind of on fire. And they were in talking to the guy who's in charge of the Iranian military light bulbs. And they were trying to convince him why he'd be a great supreme leader, because nobody wants that fucking job. And it's true. Would you take that job? I mean, look, where you were born, where you're a citizen of, how you feel about the war, throw all that out for a second. Would you want the job of the next supreme leader of Iran as they're all getting blown to fuck up left and right? Because my answer would be no. As cool as it might be to lead my own nation, not exactly want to lead the nation that's being bombed by the biggest and strongest military on the planet, who the people before me pissed off, and now I have to like dodge incoming while I try to explain, like, hey, I'm not as horrible as the other guys. Yeah, it's not the... I've interviewed for a lot of jobs, and there's a lot of things that I agreed to do in a lot of jobs. That's not one of them whatsoever. But you know who is taking it from what we're told is the Ayatollah's son. If I hack the name, my apologies. I'm not trying to piss off anyone, but actually I'm trying to piss off a lot of people, but let's be realistic. Mojtaba Khomeini is the 56-year-old son of Ayatollah Khomeini, who is now minimally room temperature, is allegedly the next supreme leader. Listener post in the chat says, hey, you get to be Ayatollah for life. Granted, it would only be a one-day temp job. And the benefits kind of blow, right? But yeah, so what's funny is they announced it, and almost immediately a lot of people in intelligence said, this guy might be dead. So maybe not even a full day there listening post, which how fucking funny would it be if he was dead, right? The only guy you can find to lead your country right now is a dead guy. It's like Weekend at fucking Bernie's. They're just bringing him out, walking him around, and having him wave at cameras. Like Weekend at the Ayatollahs, Weekend at Khomeini. Oh, man. As of today, the U.S. Reportedly in the first 72 hours hit 1,700 targets. The U.S. and Israel. 1,700 targets in the first 72 hours, which is just mind-blowing. The Iranian Navy is completely wiped out. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The Iranian Air Force is gone. So the U.S. has total air superiority, and you know that because they brought in the buff, the B-52, to continue on with the strike. The missile and drone powers crippled, according to the Pentagon. Drone launches are down 73%. Missile launches are down 86%. And essentially, and I wrote this the other day, or I talked about it online, every single time they light up a missile and shoot it off, which one of them went to Turkey, all things, which is kind of funny, just pissing off more of their neighbors. I think that makes the 8th country that neighbor that Iran has lobbed a missile into. But it lights up that launcher. And now that launcher becomes a target. And more, every time they send one off, it gets targeted and disappeared. They allegedly had about 200 launchers at the beginning of this. If they were down, what did I say, 86% out of that 200, well, that's, I mean, do the math. That's 14 for every 100. So that's what, 28, 30 left, roughly, somewhere in there. So not going well. Look, we all know the leadership is entirely splintered. There's no one at the top. The top 40 to 70 commanders and politicians and leaders in that country are dead. All of these strikes are coming. The IRGC, Jersey Joe wrote about this today on shrmedia.com. They're starting to do the Hamas tactics where they're hiding in schools and hospitals. Their communications are shit. They put out today that the Iran Cyber Warfare Center has been destroyed. So what you're getting now is a few hardliners who are still holding on and launching the missiles. A few segmented, localized, and, you know, maybe they aren't necessarily the hardest of liners, but they're just hoping, you know, they still think that maybe there's an Ayatollah or some leader that will kill them if they don't keep launching. I don't know. But reality is it's going to be less and less as days go on. Costs of casualties so far, a confirmed 6 U.S. service members were killed in a missile attack. And we certainly thank them for their service and their family for their sacrifice. Identified as Captain Cody Cork, Sergeant First Class Noah Tegens, Specialist First Class Nicole Armour, Specialist Declan Cody, Chief Warrant Officer 3 Robert Marzan, and Major Jeffrey O'Brien. The Iranians, the estimates at this point is that 1,000 to 1,500 of the IGRC and security forces have been killed. So the question is, what now? And there's a lot of talk of course, at some point, somebody is going to have to put boots on the ground. And Trump mentioned over the weekend that he was talking to the Kurdish leaders in Iraq. And if you don't know the Kurdish Peshmerga, do some research on the Kurds. The Kurds are a strong fighting force. The Kurds have been around for a long time. And apparently we've been working with the Kurds setting this up for this. The operation was supposed to kick off in summer, and there was a lot of things that intelligence saw that moved it up, and opportunities presented themselves, which is why we're here now. And now, allegedly, the Kurds are moving in on the ground and starting to the ground offensive. I am sure we will have special forces on the ground with them, probably Green Berets and other folks who are kind of directing them. I'm sure Air Force Combat Controllers be with them, et cetera, et cetera. And you're also going to see, I'm sure, Israel putting boots on the ground, and there may be some other countries now, because like I mentioned earlier, the 8 other countries that Iran lobbed missiles at are kind of pissed off at them. Namely, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Dubai, the Qataris, which was shocking that they hit the Qataris, because everyone kind of knows the Qataris have always protected Hamas, and Hezbollah, and the Kuwaitis. So, and I think there's 2 or 3 more countries that got hit as well. The biggest one is Turkey. Turkey being a NATO member, like it or not, they are. And somebody mentioned, and the possibility is not out of reach or unreasonable to think, that if they invoked Article 5 of the NATO agreement, then all the other NATO countries would have to get involved. Now, are they going to do that? I don't think so. I'm sure that the U.S. and Israel are saying, hey, we have a plan. Don't go dicking around with it, and it'll benefit everybody. That's my guess. Obviously, none of us are on the inside. I'm sure everyone in the chat room who's telling me I'm wrong, they have total locked-in intel with what's going on with this as well. But the reality of the situation is our military and State Departments have a tendency to plan for stuff like this. Now, whether it's a good plan or not a good plan, but that's yet to be seen. But I think that will keep Turkey at bay. So, this is the problem, and this shows you who Iran really was in the leadership in the IGRC is we want all of these people to be our allies until they're not necessarily our friends, and then all of a sudden we're going to start lunching bobs at them. The one country that should be pissed off that isn't is the UK, because they mostly sat out of this and they took an incoming missile to their base in Cyprus. And as of today, I guess allegedly they're starting to maybe ramp up a little bit. Like I said, I gave them credit Monday night. They were doing missile defense and they were doing some refueling, but they didn't want to be involved in the attack. By the way, the vast majority of the politicians and people in the UK are kind of pissed off about that because they know what monsters the Iranian leadership was. Not the Iranian people, the Iranian leadership. So you have that going right now, too. I don't know why they picked a British base when the Brits weren't really doing anything. And look, Keir Starmer's a giant pussy. The whole world knows that. You don't even have to listen to him speak. You can look at him and know he's a pussy. But this is why when they keep talking about, the separation of relationships between the UK and the US, this is another thing where they were like, oh, yeah, we'll help a little. And they didn't want to support it. And I'll tell you why. The massive influx of Muslim migrants into the UK over the years, if they decide to riot, if they decide that they did not like the operation, the UK can't handle that riot. They would be going batshit crazy if they wanted to. And the UK law enforcement wouldn't be able to do shit about it. There's too many. So that's why Keir Starmer didn't get involved in this. Like I said, this becomes a moment where if you like the strike, you don't like the strike, doesn't matter. We're talking about the reality of the situation. Spain, the Socialist Republic of Spain, decided to tell us that they can't use our bases for the attack and that we had to leave, and that's fine. And then Portugal turned around and said, hey, we have a base in the Azores you guys can use, because if you don't know the history between Portugal and Spain, they don't like each other too much. So that was an interesting twist. And then we saw something that we haven't seen in America since 1945. And it was only the second time this production style of vehicle has done something like this. And of course, I'm talking about the sinking of the IRIS, what was it, Dina? This was crazy because they were over off the coast of Sri Lanka, probably trying to hide and hope. Hide and hope was their only real defense at this time. They were kind of in that area because they did a joint operation with Russia and China. And they were just, I haven't really seen if they were actively trying to get back. I don't think they would want to, considering, like I said, the rest of the Iranian Navy were involuntary submarines. But they were just kind of chilling, it sounds like, and a USS attack sub located them. And when they did that, this happened. Yeah, they blew the tits off of it. So that's the first time since 1945 an American U.S. submarine, why did I say that? But a U.S. submarine has sunk a ship in wartime. It is only the second nuclear-powered submarine to sink a ship in battle. The most recent sinking was a North Korean on a South Korean corvette boat, North Korean submarine, back in, what was that, 2009, something like that. So this is a pretty, and all my Navy friends, oh man, all of my Navy friends are walking around with full erections at this video. I'm not going to lie. I've talked to a whole bunch of them. I'd be interested to see what the Navy jokes are in the chat room after I said that. Because it's so unprecedented. Look, we're so used to naval warfare now being the aircraft, which is a huge portion of it, and those guys are badasses. And that includes the Marines that also fly off the decks, and missile attacks, right? The missile frigates, even from submarines, launching Tomahawks, launching cruise missiles. We know the submarines' primary job right now is nuclear defense, the boomers that are out there. So we don't see the submarines being used in this capacity these days at all. When was the last time? Well, I already told you the answer, but how long has it been since you've ever heard of a submarine taking out a ship or craft? And yeah, this is pretty unprecedented. It's pretty amazing. And allegedly torpedoes and some subs might have been used on ships that were in port and tied up, but I have yet to confirm that yet myself. It was in international waters. It was targeted. They knew it was there, and they were eventually able to catch up to it. The Iranian regime that is still holding on is still actively attacking civilian spots. Their military and leadership is being attacked, and they're attacking civilians like they always do, because they're shitbags. And it's going to be interesting. I had so much more to talk about. Another weird event kind of tied into this, kind of not, because it's the war that people forget's going on right now, and that's Russia and Ukraine. A Russian LNG tanker, Arctic Metagaz, burst into flames and sank after a massive explosion, and this was reported 12 hours ago. I think it happened probably 14, 16 hours ago. And it's a ship that was part of the infamous Russian Black Fleet. It was sunk off of Libya. If you see the videos, I don't have the video with me. I just have the notes about it. It was a massive hole was blown into it. Russian officials are saying that it was a Ukrainian drone boat that did the attack, which is just crazy to think off the coast of Libya. And again, Democrats in this country seem to absolutely love the idea of the supreme leader staying in power and hate the idea of removing him, and for whatever reason are siding with the Iranian supreme leaders and the IGRC and all the other shitbags over there. Not the people. The people themselves, the Iranian people of Iranian descent, are still not feeling that way. They disagree with the Democrats, and we know the Democrats are going to tell them all the reasons why they're wrong. That's fine. They get to do that because they're morons, and unfortunately they're morons who are able to speak. But here's what people of Iranian descent feel about it. And I do have to mute it, and I'll play my music. You know the song. Yeah, they're still celebrating. And why are they celebrating? As I said Monday night, because while Democrats in this country, liberals all over the world in modern nations and nations that have laws that protect them and allow them to vote and really just give them a cushy life that they turn around and start bitching about everything, have never lived under true dictatorship that is absolutely oppressive. And while the Democrats here try to tell everybody else why they should be thankful for their situation and they should never ever agree with anything that America does or Trump does, and they're just so blinded by their retarded hate that they were told that they have to hate, and the lack of critical thinking, that they were. I saw a video this weekend out of New York City where you had an Iranian guy trying to talk to these people who are mad that Trump and Israel are doing this. And it was, once again, it was just like we've seen before. The white guy who was explaining back to the Iranian guy who was saying, no, this is a good thing. The Iranian leadership's horrible. The white guy was telling him why he was wrong. I think it was just like after Venezuela, right? All the Venezuelan people who were so happy to see Maduro go, and then all the liberal Democrat blue-haired lunatics were sitting here being like, no, here's why you're wrong. And they're like, bitch, I grew up there. Don't fucking tell me I'm wrong. Oh, but you don't understand. I'm so much smarter than you. Speaking of Venezuela and a couple other things a little bit closer, allegedly 2/3 of Cuba is out of power now. There's no report as to why. This was reported about 6 hours ago. 2/3 of the entire island of Cuba are out of power. I don't know if they count Guantanamo Bay's power as part of that overall 2/3. I'm not sure. But that's interesting. As we know, Mexico stopped sending Cuba oil. Since Maduro came out of leadership, Venezuela is not sending Cuba oil, and Cuba is up against it. And that could also only be a matter of time, and that could just be done internally. So it's really interesting to see all of these kind of geopolitical, and then obviously the strikes in Iran, and then there's the war going on in Russia. China has been pretty much like, peace out, Iran. Sorry, brother. Sorry about your bad luck. Keep going, and don't bring us into this, please. They've said literally nothing except for like, oh, we support the Iranian leadership, and they ain't doing shit. Part of that is much like in Venezuela. In Iran, who was using a lot of Chinese air defenses, it failed. And it proved once again that our approach against the Chinese and Russian air defenses is superior than the defense's capabilities. So therefore, they're probably trying to keep their head down for a couple of different reasons, mostly for a scramble to see how we are defeating it and what they can learn from it. Let's see, 2004 El Camino. Do I shampoo my eyebrows? I absolutely do. Yeah, so I'm going to answer a couple chats before I go into the break. Boyd McPhail said, I thought the Brits sank a ship in the Falklands. Yes, that was in the Falklands, and that was the first nuclear sub to actually sink a ship. The U.S. sub today being the second. So, yeah, no, you're 100% right on that. What will we do if the Dems stop bitching about everything? Lead a much better and happier life, I'll tell you what. I don't know what that one means. Every once in a while, you do see something where you look at a chat room and you're like, dude, how high are you? I mean, enjoy yourself. Have a blast with it, but damn. Thomas Meyer, I believe that's his name, says, we'll have a skeleton government inside of Iran. Hopefully they go back to calling it Persia, because that's what it is truly should be called. But anyways, we'll have a skeleton government in Iran. Yeah, I don't at all disagree with what you're saying there. I think we'll help set. I think the Shah's kid's going to come back and try to settle things down. And then they'll kind of probably start to form a government from there. That's my guess, just from what is publicly available. Not 100% sure. This dude, I'm just going to answer this because it's so hysterically funny. Iran is like the first bar fight. It gets a 2v1. And the best response Iran could do is everybody. And if you've ever been in a bar fight, the worst thing you can do. And that was the end of the comment. So that's interesting as well. Darth Vader allegedly put a comment out or a question, and I wasn't able to. It didn't make it through the filter for some reason. Do you think Michael Jackson never did anything bad trying to save kids? I don't. I don't think. I don't necessarily know. Look, none of us were there, but the lawsuits say otherwise. And then finally, the last question I will answer before we go to break, and this is from Listening Post, and this is very pertinent to the conversation. So I appreciate this question. I hope I can answer it clearly. The question in the chat room is, I'll put it up on screen, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And I do know the answer to that Listening Post. The answer is a woodchuck could chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could, in fact, chuck wood. That's going to be the answer to that. So I'm taking a break. You're watching the SHR Media Network. The Edge of Liberty simulcast on KLRN. Please, hey, check out our shop, shrmedia.com. You can click on there. We have some awesome shirts. I'm going to show them to you before I go away. I didn't have it ready. That's on me. I suck at this sometimes. Be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to the SHR Media Shop. This is not just merch, it is a statement. SHR Media is built as a rebellion against the mainstream. We deliver truth without a filter or permission. When you wear our gear, you are standing for liberty and unapologetic free thought. Every piece is a badge of support for independent journalism. Wear it loud, wear it proud. Support the mission and join the rebellion at the SHR Media web store.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Welcome to the Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp edge. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality. We fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch the Reaver in action. He is here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite. He may not always be refined. But one thing is for sure, he always tells it like it is. The Reaver of Common Sense.
Hell yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHI Media Network. Thank you to our friends over at KLRN for the simulcast. Before with Craig, talking about this unbelievably good-looking shirt that celebrates America's 250th birthday that's coming up July 4th. 250 Reasons to Read Course document. If you go to SHR Media, you can click. You'll see the same shirt right above, right under the banner. You click on that. It'll bring you over to the site, and you can check out that shirt and maybe order one. And you can also not only order that shirt, you can also order shirts from the show, The Edge of Liberty, if you wanted to. The Reaver of Common Sense, if you wanted to. Seasons, Berserk Podcasting, if you wanted to. Mission Ready Men. Just basic SHR logo, like that guy right there. And coming soon, the Beer in Bullstein, the new show on SHR Media that is Friday and Saturday night at 7 p.m. His shirt, Lyle, will be coming up soon. He's got a pretty awesome logo that I'm a fan of, so you can check that out as well. Go to SHR Media, man. So I do want to get going on Texas. So the Texas primary was last night, and a lot of things didn't really go as I expected them to. Some of them did, some of them didn't. It's hard. It's so weird to have a primary right now just because politics are just, it's just a weird time for politics. So right now, anything could happen. The main event, of course, that everybody was watching was the GOP Senate primary, Cornyn and Paxton. They both hit the 50% threshold. That means the runoff is going to be May 26th. Trump's coming out apparently and said he's going to back Cornyn. I don't appreciate that, and I don't agree with that. But that's one of those times that I disagree with President Trump. A lot of people are saying that Representative Wesley Hunt, who I am a fan of, was kind of put in there to kind of mix things up as well. So it's just interesting to see everybody's different theories on that. And again, you'll never know. I mean, it's politics. Politics is what it is. Governor Abbott cruised. He's going to most likely be reelected. The race to replace Paxton was interesting. The AG primary is wide open and is likely headed to a runoff. Chip Roy was leading the pack at 23%, Mays Middleton at 23%, and State Senator John Huffman was trailing in third. The Tony Gonzalez versus Brendan Herrera case. And yes, I will entirely get to the whole case between Jazzy and the other weirdo, because I really want to highlight that other weirdo for a minute. But Tony Gonzalez, as we all know, is the guy who was married, conservative, allegedly, cheated on his wife and then shamed the girl, his mistress, so much that she committed suicide via immolation, which is just a horrific way to go. And Brendan Herrera, you may know him from YouTube, the AK guy. He's also on the Unsubscribed podcast. He's part of that whole circle with Pepperbox TV, the Fat Electrician, Angry Cops, all those guys that I actually really enjoy. As of right now, Gonzalez was still ahead, 44-41. I look, I absolutely understand backing a candidate you agree with. But in this situation, I don't see how anyone voted for Gonzalez. Yeah, he's no conservative. That's why I said, kind of, right? And then it comes down to the conversation of Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico. Now, I am going to, for those who don't know, when I saw Tallarico, I saw the whole kerfuffle when Stephen Colbert tried to say that CBS forbade him from having Tallarico on. And, oh, that's it. Also, Crenshaw lost. I forgot that was the best news of the night. Crenshaw lost, which gave us, of course, you know, I love memes. And it gave us this meme of Crenshaw standing next to Jazzy and the Ben Affleck smoking the cigarette outside the birthday party thing. Crenshaw was a happy loss. I think Crenshaw's a piece of shit and the whole world knows it. And last night it proved that the electorate certainly does. So Jasmine Crockett, who we all know, and is a piece of work in of herself. She did not concede politely last night when she lost to Tallarico. As a matter of fact, she went and did something that we were told time and again was absolutely impossible to do in any election in the U.S. She alleged there was cheating, which it kills me.
So that's my new
when they don't get their way. And again, Jazzy thought Jazzy Ratchet, as Mission Ready Men calls her, Jazzy thought that she was going to cruise to victory. I really think she's one of those people that doesn't understand how ridiculous she truly is. Kind of like Kamala. Except I'll bring up Kamala here in a shortly because that's kind of funny. But she has that same, like, because the people in my inner circle tell me I'm awesome, then I must be awesome approach. And she wasn't. You saw her campaigning. She did a lousy job. She thought she was going to get away with 90-second TikTok videos and blah, 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 blah. And then when she did speak, she was a shit show. And here is her conceding last night.
So that's my news, is that we're not going to have election results tonight, in my opinion. based upon what specifically is taking place in Dallas County. Unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do.
This is what Republicans like to do. She wasn't running against a Republican. And just so you know, the state Supreme Court stepped in to make sure that no votes were counted after the close of polls, or no votes were accepted after the close of polls. This is essentially what they did, which was what their job was to do. And she's blaming Republicans for that in a race that Republicans have nothing to do with. It's her against Tellerico. It's not her against a Republican. Tellerico's a bigger liberal retard than she is. Like, without a doubt. And I'm going to prove that to you here in a minute, but I'll let Jazzy continue with her crying.
And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why. So,
subtle swipe
I want you to enjoy
there.
yourselves, but I won't be back tonight because I have no idea of when we're going to get results, and I fully anticipate it won't be until tomorrow.
I love how she hit every single like liberal I didn't win talking point. There's racism involved. The conservatives and the Republicans are cheating, blah, 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 blah. And I guess in her theory, it's because they know Tellerico is not going to do well in Texas, and she thought maybe she would, and they were trying to play this 4D chess where if they get rid of her, Tellerico will run for Senate, and then he'll get his ass kicked. So let's talk a little bit about this Tellerico guy. Like I said, I saw the whole thing about Colbert, and I wasn't really paying attention to him because I honestly thought that for the Democrats, Jazzy was going to walk with it just because, hey, it's Democrats. Tell me if you think this guy's going to start playing well in Texas.
Is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Okay, so he's already off to a bad start. And I get it. He's trying to really lean into the uber progressive liberals. And what's crazy to me is if you think about that and you look at where politics are today and the things that are starting to fade away and the things that are starting to become non-important in our society, most of it is what the leftist liberals have hailed as required and needed, right? And that's what they've literally hooked their horse up to for the last 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, where it's this ultra super progressivism and the trans movement and the binary movement and, you know, kids getting sex changes, blah, 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 right? All of that is like what the left has been embracing. And we're starting to see society kind of move away from all of that a little bit at a time, but it's starting to show up. But Tellerico has to now walk away. I almost played a video that wasn't Tellerico. That would have been absolutely funny because it would have been so out of context. You all would have thought I was insane, which I'm not arguing with you. I am. Parts of me, I mean, let's face it, are. Tellerico also, I believe, and I'm looking for the video I have here somewhere, I believe was also pushing for abortions for trans people. And I could be wrong about that. It could have been another lunatic. But this is what he feels about the southern border and how the southern border should be treated. And again, this will not fly well at all in Texas.
Be a giant welcome mat out front. Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. Yes.
The state that when Biden opened the taps on immigration and stopped every ounce of immigration control, took it the hardest and had to pay the most for it and suffered the most for it. Yes, that's going to play well in Texas. And even with people who maybe aren't conservative, but that border issue is still a major issue down there. Here's another one of Tellerico's great moments.
I want us all to be aware of is that modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are six, which honestly, Representative Hefner surprised me too.
There's six, Tellerico says. There's six. Look, and I say this before and I say it again, there's a reason why when you go in to get medical care, they ask what birth you were or what sex you were when you were born. because they're trying to make everybody feel good about it, right? Like, we don't want to say you can't have 28 different little genders, but really, were you born with a dick or were you born with an axe wound? Because that's really going to depend on how we treat you. I don't care all the other stuff, what you believe to be, what you want to be, blah, 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 blah. None of that's going to exist. So we need to know how to treat a man and a woman. So what were you when you were born? That's what they ask you in the medical, any sort of hospital that you go into now. And there's a reason for that. I could sit here, I have sat here, many have sat here and told you why the reasons are, because there's only two genders, right? Let's see. Oh, this was the video I was looking for. Here's the last thing I'm going to play at Tellerico, because I have other stuff to cover. But I just want you to know what an absolute wingnut this was, and that the majority of Democrats in Texas still voted for him. And I don't know if it's because Jazzy's such a shit show that it's like anyone but Jazzy, or if they really like this guy, which I don't know how, but maybe anything's possible.
Before we go further, I want to acknowledge that our trans community needs abortion care too. Defending trans Texans is something we have to do every day. Before we go further, I want to acknowledge that our trans community needs abortion.
First and foremost, oh God, it's so infuriating. It's comical to me that nobody in there stood up and went, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Now look, if you're a biological woman and you now identify as a dude and you need to get like a feminine surgery or whatever, I understand that. But that's not what this is. And you know that's not what this is. This is the same type of person that will tell you that men can have babies, which they cannot. Not naturally. Men cannot have babies. You can't sleep with another man or a woman and end up pregnant if you're a dude. That's just how it works out. Right? So Tellerico is out here just living in this total liberal, crazy fucking society. And as much as I love to see Jazzy lose because she's an atrocious human being, the fact that this one it scared me. Okay, so he did. And look, Big Bro today in the chat room, if he did say that, I'll concede that he said it should be a welcome mat but a locked door. Okay, that's fine. But the simple fact of the matter is, it still implies something. And it's something that Democrats have done so many times where they say, oh, yeah, of course we have to have procedures. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Right? And we had procedures. And look at what Biden did. If you think our southern border should be a welcome mat, that says to me that you still are just for wide open immigration, but you want to act like there might be some rules in place because it makes you feel better at night. Or it makes the donors happy is really what it comes down to. Mission Ready Men says it's because Jazzy was so insufferable. She was so freaking insufferable. Let's see. Wow. Hey, Joe, why don't you get original, my friend? Because what you're saying has been disproven a bazillion times. And you're half a moron. And I know you're probably some nerd in some other country that's being paid to go onto YouTube and go after shows like this and say stupid things. Or you're like 12 and you think you're being tough. Either way, you're not being relevant. That's the point. You're not being logical and you're not being truthful. But hey, welcome to the chat. I appreciate you lifting up my viewer time. It really helps with the commercial. So thank you so much for being here, Joe. Let's see. I do want to go to California because while we're talking around, one of the reasons I still love politics before I get out of Texas is the memes. And I'm one of those people, I don't care who the meme's about. If it's funny, right? So this one I saw, and it took me like a split second to realize because there was no real title to it. And then once I saw it, I just could not stop laughing. Oh man, it's absolutely amazing. Of course, that was Jazzy being mixed with the liberal screaming woman from back in the day. And really hats off for recycling old memes for that and making them relevant again because it's fun. Let's see. I did want to talk about California, a couple different things out of California, just to show you how fucked up it is where I am unfortunately stuck living for an extended period of time. Gavin Newsom is trying to frame, and I don't know if you saw the video, I get so sick of hearing Gavin Newsom talk, but trying to frame the rising gas prices in California on the conflict in Iran. Even though gas prices have been going up consistently in California for the last year plus, since the two major refineries announced that they were going to close and move. And this is his excuse to try to change the argument into, well, it's the Iranian conflict that's, and meanwhile, I think gas has gone up 3 cents nationwide. And that's where we're at. Like, that's who Newsom is. I talked about this the other night. But if you think California just ends with the Newsom craziness, it doesn't. Because this person is running for city council in Fresno, and he held this speech outside of an elementary school. And I saw it on the B, and I said, no, there's no way. So I clicked on the story because I'm like, why would you do that? You know you're not supposed to be there. And then I looked, and I'm like, oh, no, son of a bitch. He actually did. And then he tried to say because the school was closed, it's okay for him to be there. And apparently the police are looking into that. But here's the individual who's running for city council. And here's the individual who is outside of an elementary school giving a speech today. Their name is Renee Campos, and this is from Megan's Law. You can find this yourself. He was born 1984, and he was convicted of possession or control of obscene manner depicting minor in a sexual conduct, i.e. child pornography. So this is like, when I talk about shame in our society, and I talk about like how people do need to be shamed a little bit more, and this is one of it, because this guy should never, ever have this inkling in his mind that he should be running for city council. Never mind the simple fact that he's going to hold a press conference right outside an elementary school. And why would he do that? Well, because in California, and I have this, I want to show you really quick too. You have people like this who have been successful. And I think people look at this in California and say, well, if that freakazoid can pull it off, then anybody can pull it off. And of course, I'm talking about Anthony Weiner. And I had the clip. It was about 30 seconds. And Anthony Weiner is the guy who helped author the rule or the law in California that just got struck by the Supreme Court that essentially turned around and said, the law originally said, oh, if your child's transitioning or going through what they believe is coming out or whatever, they can go ahead and tell a teacher or somebody at school, and that teacher now has the right to keep that from you, which many people in the state, are you fucking kidding me? That's a grooming law. That's a grooming law. That's like, all that is a law that allows an adult to be predatory and groom a child. Oh, I have your secret. I've told my kids this. If any adult comes up to you ever and says, it's okay if you and I have secrets between us and not that you don't tell your parents, both of my kids know to tell me immediately, because that is predatory behavior. Or if my kid goes up to somebody and says, oh, I'm having an issue at home, and they turn around and they can say, well, yeah, we'll keep that a secret between us. That is predatory behavior as well. And Anthony Weiner, whose big law was just overturned, and many others that Gavin Newsom supported that were just absolutely atrocious as well, just filed to run for the House of Representatives in Phil Pelosi's seat. And what's absolutely frightening to me is there's probably a good chance he's going to win, and then we're going to have to deal with him on a national level. And it's absolutely just atrocious. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I saw this, and I forgot to mention this earlier. Tellerico got got a full endorsement from Kamala today. So that's how you know he's probably not going to not do that well in the election. And here's the post that Anthony Weiner, I did have it, put up regarding that law getting struck down. Forcing teachers to out LGBTQ students and their parents put kids' lives at risk. Some will die. Some will get kicked out of the home, become homeless. Some will be sent to conversion therapy. The choice to come out to one's parents belongs only to the kid and is no one else's damn business. Okay, well, if it's nobody else's damn business, then why did you pass a law that allows teachers to be involved in it and keep secrets from their parents? And this is just a tidbit of how fucked up California is, and I say it all the time. California is the gross liberal petri dish in which the Democrats try their gross experiments and grow that nasty ass fungus, and if they think it'll work, they start spreading that illness and that grossness from that petri dish throughout the country, or they try. One of the funniest posts, and I know I only got 5 minutes left, but one of the funniest posts on X I saw this week, somebody put Robbie, the Ice Goodwin, at Robbie Goodwin, put Shia LaBeouf implies the existence of Sunni LaBeouf. And I saw that this morning while I was having coffee, and I'm not going to lie, I laughed for 6 or 7 minutes straight because it does, in fact, imply that there's a Sunni LaBeouf. And if you don't get that joke, you should really study up on some things. Unbelievable racism out of Joyless Reed. What do I have? 4 minutes? Yeah, I can play this. On a podcast, and she's really, really, really batshit crazy. And I think everybody knows that. But here's Joy Reid talking about JD, white supremacist ultimate dream. This is just weird shit.
Motivates them so they can't have the successor to MAGA be the guy with the brown Hindu wife. They're also Christian nationalists. That ain't gonna work. That's why he's throwing his wife under the bus. Poor Usha, or she's in on it, right?
And she's playing slap and tickle with Erica Kirk's the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Yeah, she's like in her Tammy Faye era.
Okay, holding on the back of his head and rubbing on his head.
Some weird shit,
baby. Don't do that to Jason. I'm gonna start thinking something's going on. Why are you holding the back of his head? I'm like, you're not doing that right thing. You're supposed to be a widow. You in leather pants?
Yeah,
that's not widow wear.
Could you imagine if?
Wouldn't it be the most perfect fairy tale, MAGA fairy tale?
Yeah.
If he finally sees the light that he needs a white queen instead of this brown Hindu. I mean, I'm not saying that's happening.
Right.
I'm not saying that's happening. But I'm just going to imply that he secretly wants a white woman, even though he's had 2 children with Usher and she's pregnant with a 3rd. But we floated this before just to get the internet talking. And I'm going to say it in my most ghetto voice and over-the-top ratchet voice that I can. What an atrocious piece of garbage Joy Reid is. And we know that. Everybody knows that. But it's just when it's on full display, it's absolutely disgusting. Health tip for you, this coming from Billy Idol. And I thought this was, look, when I give out health tips, I'm not suggesting you do it. This is coming from somebody else. And everybody has their own way. This certainly isn't for me. And you should probably consult your doctor before you go this route. But Billy Idol says that smoking crack helped him quit heroin and it worked. Well, I mean, I guess one person's health is different from another person's health. Oh, man. I think that's going to... one last thing, talking about the Middle East. Reports from 15 hours ago from Faye Tuk's network is that the Lebanese army is actually moving into southern towns to seize Hezbollah equipment. I talked a little bit about this Monday night, how Hezbollah essentially owns southern Lebanon for decades now. And now the Lebanese army is actually moving in to try to remove them. And I think that's absolutely fantastic news for the people of southern Lebanon. Folks, that's going to be it for me here on the Edge of Liberty and the SHI Media Network. I'll be back Monday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 on the East Coast. But it's not just me on SHI Media. Actually, it's way more than me. You go to the better shows, Monday and Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast. You have the Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe. Tuesday and Thursdays, noon on the East Coast, 9 a.m. Pacific. You have my friend Big E with Mission Ready Men, Tuesday and Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. You have BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, all right here on SHR Media, YouTube, and everywhere else you can find the SHR Media shows. And the new guy, Lyle, with Bjorn Bolstein, 20-something years as an EOD expert in the military, has been deployed everywhere that you could possibly deploy. The guy knows everything. He knows a lot of shit, and he's somebody you need to check out. And we're proud to have him here on SHR Media, and that's Bjorn Bolstein every Friday, Saturday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 on the East Coast. Thank you to our friends over at KLRN Radio for simulcasting this show. Thank you to everybody in chat. Thank you to the moderators. And check out shrmedia.com if you want to grab some swag. The mugs are incredible. I'll see you Monday. Take care.